I'm really happy that we can change backgrounds because there's literally just a carrot in the middle of my floor. And while I could have picked it up, I just did
I don't bet you
not.
would have been able to see the carrot. You think?
Probably with where it's at. Picture 1774. You're elbow deep in flour sacks, stitching your kids' clothes by candlelight, and suddenly the price of sewing needles doubles. You literally have to choose mend that ripped pant leg or feed your baby.
You'd think that that was ancient history, but flash forward to Walmart 2025, you're staring at two identical bottles of shampoo. The blue one is $5, the pink one is $8. I mean, what?
And don't get me started on tampons taxed as a luxury. Girl, I'd love to splurge on caviar next to my period products.
Spoiler, caviar isn't taxed, but your tampons are. Welcome to the same economic hustling that our foremothers fought, just with fancier packaging.
Is that the caviar or the tampons?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even like caviar, do you?
Yes,
I don't like it.
I do.
It's
I love
scary.
sushi. So just
Yeah, but
caviar on top
like
of sushi is
the eggs look creepy to
eh.
me.
It's a satisfying pop. What's up, mamas? I'm Chelsey, the reluctant CFO of our at-home learning adventure, starring a T-Rex obsessed kindergartner and a toddler on a veggie boycott. Forget coupon clipping. I'm in the car before dawn to hit Trader Joe's 40 minutes away because saving $2 on almond milk is my cardio.
And I'm Jen, the mom of three teens, two cats, and two dogs, a frequent Costco shopper, and I am constantly asking myself, how in the hell did this cart end up costing me $300?
Oh, are we talking about animals too?
Sure, we can't, because I heard your cat
Okay.
meowing. That's why I had to bring it up.
Dino obsessed 5-year-old, 2-year-old veggie boycotter, two cats, a dog, and a husband?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. My floors are constantly dirty. Between the two of us, we've negotiated with toddlers, brokered peace treaties at bedtime, and somehow still managed to pay for our essentials. You know, diapers, shampoo, and apparently pink text razors.
So today we are going to connect the dots from colonial mothers stitching homespun cloths to modern moms scanning price tags in grocery stores. We're proving the more things change, the more they still cost you extra if you're a woman.
We'll share stories of Revolution-era heroines who spun thread into protest, then drag the modern pink tax into the harsh glare of our mom boss spotlight, and then touch on a little bit of modern-day tariffs.
Plus, we've got your cheat sheet, some real tips to beat the system at its own game, because if history has taught us anything, it's that when women organize, empires wobble, or at least corporate pricing strategies do.
Ready to see how the cost of being a woman has been written into every receipt, then learn how to fight back?
Okay, let's dive into episode 4, the cost of being a woman from colonial tariffs to the pink
Tax.
All right, Chelsey, close your eyes. Picture colonial America in the 1760s. You head to your pantry for tea or sugar, and bam, there's a British convenience fee tacked on. That penny or two tax, that wasn't some abstract policy. You literally had to choose between your morning tea and your kids' dinner rolls. Who's texting you? Do not disturb.
Why are you worried about it? I'm just kidding.
No, that's what my
It's
husband
my
says every
other
time.
friend.
I'm like, who's texting you? He's like, why do you care? I'm like, because I'm nosy. I don't care. Fine, I won't ask you ever
Who are you
again.
texting?
Rude.
And he knows at this point now that I'm only asking because I don't have a life. But now I'm getting one. So,
Yeah.
hold
Yeah.
on.
So now he's going to be like,
Airplane
who are you texting? And you're going to be like, all of my outraged mom friends.
whoever you want. And who was running that family budget? Moms. We're not talking spreadsheets and apps. We're talking candlelight, flour sacks, and real hunger pangs. When British duties drove up the cost of thread, you didn't just mourn your hemline, you faced a full-blown budget crisis.
Which is exactly why women turned their parlors into protest halls. They called them spinning bees, but make no mistake, it was a political act. While men debated in halls, women gathered under beams, spinning homespun cloth as a giant no thank you to British textiles.
Think of your favorite book club. Except instead of coffee and croissants, you boycott the empire and stitch your rebellion into every yard of cloth.
Let me introduce you to some of those ringleaders. First up is Sarah Bradley Fulton. They called her the mother of the Boston Tea Party because she hid revolutionaries in her home, then smuggled their messages right past British patrols. Talk about an undercover boss.
Then there's Esther Reed, co-founder of the Ladies Association of Philadelphia. She rallied women across the colonies, raised thousands of dollars for Continental soldiers, and penned The Sentiments of an American Woman. She basically crowdfunded the revolution without Kickstarter.
And last but not least, Betsy Ross. She turned everyday sewing into revolutionary action. She sourced untaxed homespun fabric, stitched the first stars and stripes, and kept her Arch Street shop buzzing with secret patriot meetings. Each flag, tint, and uniform that she crafted was a direct strike against the British tariffs and a bold statement that these colonies were going to stand united.
Here's the kicker. British merchants panicked. They blamed American women for collapsing their markets. And you know what? They were right. When women decided to refuse taxed goods, the economic machine wobbled.
So fast forward to today, we are still using the same playbook, just with different tools. Instead of spinning wheels, we've got social media hashtags. Instead of parlors, we've got shopping carts. And yes, Chelsey, we're still toppling the machine. Take Target, for example. Target's decision to scale back its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, including ending programs aimed at increasing Black employees' representation and advancement, has sparked significant backlash, like hella significant. Civil rights activists and organizations like the NAACP have called for a national boycott, which has led to a noticeable decline in their foot traffic and a substantial drop in their stock price. Target's stock, I looked today, has fallen 37% in the last 6 months, and they erased over $12.4 billion in their market value.
That's amazing.
I
Not
know.
for Target.
No,
It's a big win
said,
for us.
I said we can go lower.
That's every single time.
We can
Somebody
do
was
more.
like, I can't even remember what it was anymore. It wasn't Elon Musk. It was somebody similar.
Anything.
I don't know. It was like, that could be lower.
It could,
That could
we
be
could do
lower.
that.
That
Probably
could be
Trump's
lower.
approval rating.
It might have actually been. I was like, we could do better than that.
We can do better. Come on, guys. What are we doing? Guys and gals.
We can do it. Oh my gosh. Target is, that whole thing is just insane to me.
Target made me so sad.
I know. I was talking to one of my friends tonight that I was telling you about. Well, it was part of the reason I was running late for tonight because not even because I was talking to her and it came up where I was like, actually there was a corporate meeting with like Target, Walmart, Home Depot, maybe Amazon, I can't remember, at the White House.
Yep.
But right before that meeting, Target paid him $1 million. And she told me today that they're going to build, I believe, a Target warehouse. And the state of California rolled back protections on the Joshua trees. And they're taking out thousands of Joshua trees.
No. I thought they were protected.
Thousands.
They're not protected anymore?
They rolled them back with Trump. They said we can save 200.
My U2 heart is crying right now.
I know.
Crying in Joshua
Minerva,
Tree.
I cannot remember what her name is, but her name was Minerva, and she fought hard to have that national park preserved and those species preserved in the state of California. Like, fought hard for it. Like, to the point where they had preserved a bunch of, like, animals and trees and cacti, and she took it on display throughout the country so people could see how incredible the desert was and why it needed to be preserved.
It does. I mean,
and that was in the early 1900s.
This is so sad. Have you ever been to the Redwood Forest? That's one of my bucket list places.
I want to go there.
Yeah, so bad. We should go.
I'm really regretting that I've put off national parks, even though I wanted to go.
Me too. I thought I would have time, and we may not. It makes me so sad.
I know. We're gonna get like a half-ass version of everything that
I don't want to.
We've had.
Don't make me sad. I'm gonna get sad. Okay.
I'm already sad.
I know. Stop it.
Next up, we're going to. Oh
yeah. You go ahead. Sorry.
Next up, we're going to spotlight the women of the revolution fighting back against tariffs.
Okay, let's step into December 1773. The Boston docks are frosted over, and the colonists are simmering again over Britain's latest tax on tea.
And nobody has showered.
Yeah, they all stank.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
In the midst of this, a woman named Sarah Bradley Fulton is about to turn her parlor into the epicenter of a revolution. By day, Sarah hosted genteel tea parties, women in fine gowns, polite conversation, dainty sips of that now taxed tea. But behind that genteel facade, Sarah was sending covert signals, a knock here, a folded note there, all coded instruction for Samuel Adams and his compatriots.
Imagine the courage it took. A British officer might wander in at any moment, and all he'd see is a genteel hostess. Yet Sarah was smuggling messages, hiding revolutionaries in her cellar, and coordinating the famous December 16th operation that dumped 342 chests of tea into the Boston Harbor.
That single act wasn't even about tea. It was women saying, "We won't pay your hidden fees." Sarah, meow.
I said them, I promise.
Sarah recognized that a penny per pound tax on tea was a direct hit to every household budget, especially the women who managed it. By refusing taxed tea, she struck at the heart of British economic control.
Sarah's parlor protests show us how domestic spaces can become political stages. She turned quiet conversation into strategic planning. She understood. Control what women buy, and you control the home. She flipped that power dynamic.
And the fallout was huge. The British merchants lost thousands of pounds. The crown was furious. They tightened controls, and Sarah and her network found new ways to resist. Her actions helped spark the war for independence.
Fast forward to today. When we boycott a retailer over the pink tax or the tariffs, we're channeling Sarah's spirit. Our shopping carts aren't just hauling groceries, they're hauling a message. We see your markup, we see your taxes, and we refuse to pay.
Yep. Remember Chelsea's 40-minute Trader Joe runs? That is modern spinning bee energy, traveling miles to avoid a corporate surcharge. We're honoring Sarah's legacy every time that we choose how we spend our dollars.
And if enough of us do it, corporate balance sheets wobble, just like British markets did in 1773. Next, we have Esther Reed, the fundraising firebrand who proved money talks even in a revolution.
Yeah. So Esther Reed was literally a fundraising badass from 1770s Philadelphia. Most of our history books focused on battles and ballads, and I never learned about her, which is interesting.
I didn't either.
But she knew that you have to have money to bankroll a revolution. So she proved that women could be a part of that cause.
Yeah. And they were struggling really hard for money because I think at the time they were only working with like a third of the funds that Congress had promised them. Yeah, that was one of the big issues because they couldn't pay soldiers, they couldn't get food, they couldn't pay for like uniform like repair equipment or tent repair equipment. So they were actually like barrels, gunpowder, all of that kind of stuff. They were only operating on a third of what the Congress had offered them. And so this is a huge deal what she did. Picture Esther in 1780, a well-to-do woman with a sharp mind and sharper pen. She co-founded the Ladies' Association of Philadelphia, rallied hundreds of women, and organized a donation drive that raised over $330,000 in today's money for our Continental soldiers. That's like even more impressive when you consider that they were operating under curfew and the threat of martial law.
Esther didn't hold back. She wrote The Sentiments of an American Woman, a fiery pamphlet that urged her sisters to dig deep and contribute their small savings for the greater good. She framed it as a patriotic duty, asking, if our husbands, brothers, and sons are risking life and limb, can we do less than share our worldly goods? She made it clear that this was not just about charity. It was about standing alongside with the men and fighting for independence.
She organized sewing bees, women stitching uniforms, bandages, and blankets, while Esther tallied contributions, managed leaders, and sent funds where they were needed most. Her organizational skills made her the backbone of the Ladies' Association.
Get this. When the male leaders would balk at women meddling into public affairs, Esther just shrugged and kept going. She held public auctions of donated items, negotiated prices, and even lobbied the Continental Congress for their support. She turned genteel society gatherings into revenue-generating events.
I don't know how more women did not kill their husbands.
Like, she was the OG of, planning a political event.
Yeah. I can
hear the train.
Sorry. That happens frequently here. Yeah, I know that there were a lot more poisonings than anybody ever admits, but at the same time, I get it. I'm not justifying murder by any means.
Same. But it.
but I get it.
One must do what one must do.
Yeah. Fast forward to 2025, when we Venmo a friend for our share of the Costco run or chip in for a school fundraiser, we're channeling Esther's energy. We're proving that financial muscle comes in many forms, and women know how to flex it.
Yeah, so last month, my kids' school, we were trying to raise funds to fund the entire next school year. So we were able to generate $42,000 to help fund teacher grants, all of the student programs and activities for the following school year.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we busted our booties. Like we worked hard for that. And then my son also, like Nolan just participated in a fun run
Yeah.
that this past week. It was a glow run. It was super cute. But the money that went to that funds teacher, it's for the Forney Education Foundation. So it funds educational grants for teachers and others. A few months night, I attended a bingo night that was to source money for a family in need. We are also currently doing a school uniform drive to help economically disadvantaged kiddos to be able to have gently used uniforms. So I feel very strongly about using my dollars, and I'm always trying to find small ways to make an impact and help my community, both through the giving of my time and my dollars.
I can't wait to be like you when I grow up.
Aww.
And just like Esther's fundraising shook the British war machine, our collective dollars can shake corporate pricing schemes and even influence policy on the pink tax.
So before we dive into the pink tax, we're going to spin it back to 1776 and talk about Betsy Ross, a seamstress whose needle fought back against tariffs as fiercely as any soldier who wielded a musket.
Okay, first of all, I should tell you, because I have not told you this yet. I grew up in Maryland, and I think I have told you that part.
Yes.
But because of where I grew up in between massive battlefields between Antietam, Monocacy, and Gettysburg.
Oh, that's so cool.
I am deeply enthralled in Revolutionary and Civil War era stuff. I am so obsessed with this portion of history. So when I get like super giddy about figures like Betsy Ross, and if we ever bring in Barbara Fritchie or Molly Pitcher, I'm gonna get super excited.
I mean, we could totally do an episode on anybody. I love it.
I know. I'm
History
just
is
saying.
fantastic.
Well,
I love teaching people more about history.
So Monocacy, the Battle of Monocacy was fought around Frederick, Maryland. It's kind of like in between Frederick and Montgomery, but it's pretty much in Frederick. And she led soldiers with like a flag through that area. And yeah, it was like they kind of like marched their soldiers off to war, but they were also like a big figure where they were just really encouraging, and it was a big morale boost for them. And then Molly Pitcher was not a real figure. They kind of like named everybody Molly Pitcher because there were ladies that would bring drinks and stuff to the soldiers that were fighting at their houses, or they would like sneak out. They would help with wound care. They would help like the nursing stuff, but they would also help like reload cannons, and they would do all of that stuff too.
I mean, you and I would have been
and
doing
you don't
that,
hear about
like,
that.
period.
I would be like, hey.
We would have been doing that. Like, we would have been dressing like men and doing that. Like, we totally would have been
But
like
I mean,
undercover.
Like, the Molly Pitcher stuff, like it's basically a name for all of the women that helped during the war that didn't get recognition. So,
we would have been that. We didn't need, like, I'm not doing it for recognition. Neither are you. We're doing it, get the word out. Like, we would have been doing that just to help the cause.
Yes. And it's something that they fully believed in, obviously. I mean, right now, the MAGAs, they are the redcoats.
They are.
I'm not going to go further into that, but they are the redcoats in the situation where it's a tyranny kind of basis. We've got the tariffs, we've got everything else coming in, and we're trying to do our part now where we can, because there's no actual battle going on, so we can't just like go into war and like help everybody defeat them in battle. But Betsy, née Elizabeth Griscom, ran her upholstery and flag making shop on Philadelphia's Arch Street. Britain's Townshend Acts had just hiked duties on imported wool, linen, and other textiles by up to 25%. That wasn't pocket change. It was a straight-up economic squeeze on every colonial household and business.
Betsy Ross was not allowed to let herself be squeezed by those tariffs. Instead of just accepting the inflated prices on imported fabric, she got smart. She teamed up with local weavers, sourcing her homespun cloth that wasn't taxed. It was very clever and was a way to bypass the system and still get quality materials for her work. And it worked. She didn't just save money, she thrived. Her craftsmanship was so impressive that, according to legend, General George Washington himself asked her personally to stitch the first Stars and Stripes. Imagine that, turning local resources and her own talent into something that would later become a symbol of a new nation. She wasn't just making do with what she had. She was turning the system on its head, finding opportunity where others only saw obstacles.
Every star and stripe flag she produced was a political statement. 13 untaxed fabric panels united in a circle, symbolizing equal colonies. Her shop also turned out tents, uniforms, and blankets for the Continental Army, each yard of fabric a direct boycott of British levies.
While patriots were debating in taverns, her parlor hosted secret strategy sessions. Under the guise of measuring for cushions, she and other women exchanged intelligence on British ship movements and supply shortages. Her domestic workspace doubled as a resistance cell.
After the war, Betsy's upholstery business thrived. She even reupholstered furniture for the president's house in Philadelphia. Yet she remained a modest artisan, never claiming political credit, even though her work flew over battlefields and government halls.
Back in colonial days, the tariffs drove up the cost of every yard of imported cloth. But Betsy Ross and a lot of other very smart, scrappy women turned that inflation into opportunity. They proved that homemade wasn't just cheaper, it was better. Fast forward a couple hundred years, the game has not changed. Now it's pink tax shampoo and razors instead of royal tariffs. The extra fees don't go to a crown, they go to corporate profit margins. Different century, same hustle, and women are still finding ways to beat the system.
From Betsy's needle to our shopping carts, resisting unfair levies is still in our hands. All right, girlfriends, grab your coffee or wine, no judgment. We've seen Betsy Ross stitch a nation, and Sarah Bradley Fulton turn tea into a protest. Now let's talk about the sneakiest tariff of all, the one on our everyday lives in 2025. We pay it in dollars, in minutes, and in the weight of our hearts.
Let's start with something very simple. Haircuts. You plop down in the same salon chair, same stylist, same 5-minute trim, and somehow it costs $35. Meanwhile, Steve walks into the barbershop next door, gets pretty much the same thing, and walks out paying $25.
I already am done with Steve.
I know. Steve, I hate you, Steve. That $10 difference, it is not about the cut. That is called the pink tax. It's a quiet little fee just for being a woman. A mom tax on our time, on our confidence, and our wallets. And it all adds up, especially when we are paying for it everywhere we look.
I sent you a selfie from that chair. Just invested in Big Salon's yacht fund. You replied, cheers to subsidizing someone else's vacation. We laughed, then fumed.
Yep, I'm fuming. The next trap, clothing. I found a basic t-shirt for $15 labeled as unisex. Great. Right next to it, the exact same shirt, slightly slimmer, tagged a girl's cut and priced at $18. Same exact fabric, same exact brand, $3 extra just for the word girl. That is not fashion. It is markup disguised as marketing.
That tiny $3 felt like a punch, but we made a pact. We'd never pay extra for pink again. We marched to customer service, well sashayed, and got a price match. Felt like our own little spinning bee victory.
And those kids' socks? Boys, 3-pack, $6. Girls, $8. That extra $2 per pack is a stealth surcharge on childhood. 10 packs a year is $20 that we could have spent on 7-Eleven Slurpee runs or ice cream dates.
Instead, we funded the sock cartel. Next time, we'll bring our own. I don't know how, but we'll do it.
We'll figure it out. And razors, prepare your wallets. Costco run Harry's razor blades at $2.15 each. Venus, $3.36. That is a 56% markup on our legs. Sensitive skin, more like sensitive to our budget.
We've peeled back the visible pink fees. Now let's dive into the real debt, the invisible tax on our hearts and our minds. This is the emotional and mental labor that no one invoices, but it bankrupts us every single day. Imagine waking before dawn to plan breakfast, school lunches, work presentations, doctor's appointments, soccer carpools, birthday gifts, and that's before your coffee. That mental spreadsheet never closes. My brain buzzes all night with reminders. Did you confirm the orthodontist appointment? Who's bringing the snacks tomorrow? When's the science fair project due? No one thanks you for remembering. It's just expected.
And That invisible workload honestly feels like a second job with zero pay, no PTO, no kudos. A 2019 study valued U.S. unpaid care at $4.4 trillion. That is bigger than tech or healthcare. Yet, when we asked for relief, shared chores, flexible schedules, we're labeled needy or overwhelmed. I am fortunate that I have a husband who does help out, but bless it, he does not know the login to any of our kids' health portals, doesn't know the name of the doctor usually, or how to check their school grades online. Love him. He's a great guy, but
Yeah.
he
The
doesn't know
logins
how.
are lost.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's kind
The
of if you go
logins.
like, hey, can you take him to that appointment?
Yeah. If I give my
Maybe.
husband a login, it's where logins go to die.
Yeah. I was like, I know if I send him to an appointment, he may not like give all of the information that he needs to give or doesn't realize that he needs to give it because he wasn't up with them for the entire night. You know,
Right.
being a stay-at-home mom, like I take on that duty frequently because, you know, he does go to work and I don't want him driving in and out of Dallas because it's like a 45-minute drive.
Of course.
And
Like,
I
I
don't want him
understand
tired for that.
why.
I was
Yeah.
like, if he was like 5 minutes away, I don't care. But like just him going in and out of Dallas, you need to be like up on your game driving
Yes.
down here.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know. I just think it's hilarious. But
No, it's funny
I can
because
he'll take him to their other like he'll take him to ballet, soccer,
no,
gymnastics,
Clint
like
will
whatever.
take them to anything that I tell him to take them to, but he will
Just
ask
the
me like,
logins.
are the kids supposed to go to this thing? Like, what time are they supposed to be there? What is the coach's email address? I'm like, let me Google that for you. I've literally said lmgtfy.com, and he's like, I want to strangle you. I'm like, I mean, you like, no, you're their parent too. Like, I'm
what drove
sorry,
me
but
crazy. Okay,
it's
this
the
is
mental
not
load. It's the mental load.
this is not my husband. This was like previous life when I was working. I was working for the airline and I was like in charge of travel accommodations for our pilots. And I mean, this isn't just like a low volume. There were 8 of us, and we booked 38,000 airline tickets in a year on top of hotels and rental
Holy
cars and
shit.
everything else. So we would have our scheduling department. They'd be like, hey, how long is the drive from here to there? And I was like, I don't know. Let me Google that for you, just repeatedly. And I would send screenshots of Google Maps because I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, can you not just look that? They're like, well, we need it in an email. I was like, why do you need
Dude.
it in an email? Like, it's always accessible on Google.
In the TikTok comments of people who make me mad, I have literally typed in www.lmgtfy.com. I'm like, please let me Google that for you. Like, please do your research. Like, I get so mad whenever the right says do your research, and I'm like, do your research. Like,
Yeah.
what research are you doing?
I have Ad Fontes downloaded onto my phone so I can check every single source, like how reliable it is. What is the media bias? Are we super left? Are we super right?
Right.
Like,
where are we,
are
at
we
on
in the
this?
middle? Like, I'm just like USA Facts, NPR News Now, PBS. Like, they're all like right there. Reuters.
Yes.
And
And
those
I
are
have-
the ones that I go with because they
Yes.
are so middle ground. They are
Much
not
more
left
middle.
leaning. They're not even left leaning. They're literally like in the middle. But people are so freaking far right that anything like left of them is radical. Get the Congress.gov.
That's why I get
like the
so
Congress
mad when
tracking.
people say we're not educated in our comments. I'm like,
How many
MFR?
times have you read this bill? I've read it 10 times.
yeah, I'm like, MFR, I have Pocket Congress downloaded to my phone. You shut the F up.
I get the emails from the Congress tracking sites when I get any updates from bills. Last week, I broke down crying because I forgot to RSVP to a birthday party. My mind was juggling meal plans. I cried over an email. My husband said, why are you so stressed? I wanted to scream because I'm running a small city in my head 24/7 and also fighting the patriarchy.
Fighting fascism. That is the service tax, the emotional exhaustion, the anxiety, the guilt, and it compounds whenever you cannot sleep because your brain is logged into to-dos 24/7 until 3 a.m. And then we pack that exhaustion into our workday where the corporate pink tax takes new forms.
Women are the unofficial office caretakers too. I remember when I worked for the airline, when I was actually in an office, they would organize birthday cakes and farewell coffees, smooth conflicts between coworkers, mentor junior staff with no extra pay. I did that regularly. I was the top senior in my department, and I got paid less than half of the department. And then you would notice when teammates are burnout and cover for them. And I would stay hours late. I would talk to them. I would be on the phone 10 hours a week outside of my work hours, just trying to calm down my coworkers. And while I love them, it was a lot. And so,
Control, for
on
sure.
top of our actual job duties, a McKinsey report found women spend 15% more time on emotional work at the office.
I feel like that number has got to be higher than 15%. Like, honestly, that
I
seems
mean, that's just at the
extraordinarily low.
office. You know how much we
Yeah,
would
but I
take
feel
home,
like
too.
I think that they've underreported that number because I just know how women are, and that number seems pretty low. It's probably much higher than that,
I
honestly.
guarantee
I
the
really
men did
think
the
it is.
research.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they did. So, colonial women did this too. They wrote letters, they comforted soldiers, they kept morale alive on the home front. Their service was very essential, yet was unpaid and unrecognized. Today, we are their heirs, shouldering the invisible tasks that keep organizations and families completely running. It's time for our extended national news roundup. This week, tariffs, how they shook the 1930s, how they roiled markets in 2025, and why every hidden fee lands the hardest on women and families.
Tariffs. In June 1930, amid rising unemployment and bank failures, President Hoover signed the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. Duties soared up to 60% on over 1,000 imported goods. Though the stock market had already crashed in October 1929, Smoot-Hawley deepened the global downturn by choking trade and provoking international retaliation. The trade collapsed. U.S. exports fell by nearly 60% between 1929 and 1932. Retaliation spiral? Over 25 countries imposed their own tariffs, further stalling commerce. And then there was an economic fallout. Unemployment peaked at 25% in 1933. And remember, when Joe Biden left office, it was 4%.
Mm-hmm.
Over 9,000 U.S. banks failed, and GDP contracted by nearly 30%.
So, those tariffs did not spark the actual crash, but they turned what was a bad recession into the Great Depression. They strained diplomatic ties and they helped set the stage for global conflict in the 30s and 40s. And this is history repeating itself.
I know. I'm very passionate about the fact that we have tariffs in our history and we have concrete proof that they do
It's
not
an
work
open book
multiple
notes
times.
test.
And we're failing it so horribly.
What is wrong with us?
It's not us.
I know, but we don't have control. If we did, things would be a lot better.
Women in charge.
Exactly.
2028.
Patriarchal society. 2028.
Downfall. Downfall of the patriarchy. Fast forward to April 2025. President Trump slammed 10 to 54% tariffs and some even higher. Like on China, 145%? Are you kidding me? I'm sure this will change by the time that we even release this. On imports from Canada, Mexico, the EU, China, and beyond. Like the penguins and the seals. It's deep stuff, Jen. Don't laugh.
Leave penguins alone.
Leave the penguins alone. Allies and rivals alike are reeling. Japan pissed.
Yeah. With good reason. So the EU, Ursula von der Leyen was like, this is a major blow to the world economy. She's already warned of higher inflation, medical bills, grocery costs. And the EU has already readied $26 billion in counter tariffs. Take that, America.
The Asian markets. Japan's Nikkei plunged nearly 4%. South Korea's KOSPI fell 1.7%. Taiwan's index plunged 5.8% before recovering slightly.
And Beijing added an 84% retaliatory tariff on U.S. goods on top of the already existing duties, which was effective immediately.
And stopped all trade to the U.S.
Yep. So
all of it, including our medications.
Furthermore, on April 7th, a false Twitter post claimed a 90-day tariff paused, and that sparked a 2.4 trillion market swing within 10 minutes. Traders cheered and then panicked when the White House denied it. That is the rumor tax on your retirement fund. How much did you lose? How much did your parents lose? Probably a lot.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that my dad is a welder. and he runs his own business. So, like, getting in the metal, before the first tariffs even hit, already had a 7-ish% increase.
Yeah, it's anticipatory
Mm-hmm.
because they anticipate what the markets are going to do.
Yeah. I was like, and that, I think that was steel specifically. I didn't ask about aluminum or anything, but like the steel went up over 7 cents per pound. The 1 cent for the T-cents. Nice.
Except if you account for inflation, it probably levels out the same, honestly.
That's all I want. I'm still trying to figure out how they expect us to produce coffee in the US to make it
I'm going to
US
figure
made.
out a way. I'm going to be growing it in my backyard.
Good
I
luck.
went
It's like
to
in Hawaii they can, but not that much. They don't have that much space.
I know. I don't even know.
Every macro tariff is a micro burden, or a macro burden, depending on how bad the tariff is. When import levies drive up costs, those increases show up first in the pink tax, 20 to 60% markups on razors, clothing, and personal care.
Then there's the invisible service tax that we spoke about earlier, the unpaid mental and emotional labor that's worth over an estimated 4.4 trillion. Let that sink in. 4.4 trillion annually in the US. We juggle schedules, we soothe tears, and keep all of our households afloat on top of the paid work that we do.
Picture your grocery bill next week. Avocados from Mexico, soy sauce from Asia, olive oil from Europe, all now cost 10 to 84% more. That's a layered tax on family dinners.
And also, JP Morgan has already warned that there is probably a chance of recession up to 60% chance by the end of 2025 due to the trade shocks and tariffs. So when this economy slows down, women, especially women of color, will face the steepest job losses.
History and today's headlines coverage. Tariffs can deepen downturns and hit families hard. Women carry the heaviest burden, both in dollars and emotional labor.
So here are some action steps that you can take. You can lobby for oversight. You should urge Congress to hold hearings on tariff impacts on households and small businesses, which I thought that we had enough in Congress to overturn the tariffs. Is that not true anymore?
J.D. Vance broke the tie.
Okay. So keep calling Congress anyway. Nonetheless, continue to call. Support price equity laws so you can back all state and federal bills that ban gendered pricing and repeal tampon taxes.
Although we probably won't see those for a while again because of how severe everything else is.
Yeah, I agree. But once they come up, please be aware. Stay woke, please. Stay aware of what is being put on legislation, and call your congressman, call your representatives. You can also just choose to shop strategically in the meantime. So we choose, Chelsey and I, to patronize retailers that have gender neutral pricing, or we buy in bulk from co-ops, or I will buy from, farmers markets or Costco even, because I love Costco with their, deciding to stand up against the man. I love them for that.
I do. Brickshires, which they have supported MAGA, but it is more local and it is basically a Texas-based one, and I would rather spend there. I cannot wait for HEB to open, and I do go very far out of my way just to go to Trader Joe's and stock up on stuff that's going to be a smaller fee. I don't have as much waste because they are smaller portions, and the food and the household products are clean.
They're good quality for
They're
sure.
good
Yep.
quality. Everything is great with Trader Joe's. Besides the fact that they like to union bust, but I think that's their iffiest thing right now, and I'll take that over everything else that's happening.
I was gonna say I would take that over MAGA. Period.
Yeah, even though I'm a union family, I'm so sorry that I said that. But Trader Joe's is.
I mean, we have to do the lesser of two evils, right?
The lesser of like 20 evils, right?
Yeah, true. You're right. The lesser of 20 evils. But also amplifying your story. So if you can post inflated grocery receipts with hashtag receipt reveal or no hidden tax, it will pressure these brands and policymakers to be accountable. Also, vote with impact. Please, I urge you to elect leaders that are committed to fair trade, transparent policy, and economic justice for all.
Also, a point of celebration. Dallas has ousted the majority of their MAGA and ultra-conservative
No,
position.
most of Texas did. Most of
Most of
Texas
Texas
did.
did, but
Yeah,
Dallas specifically, their city council, the school boards, the only MAGAs that got elected in were the ones that were uncontested.
I didn't know that. That's
I think
amazing.
like one person won that was an ultra conservative MAGA that was
Okay,
contested.
that's amazing.
Yeah. So, really good news.
That is good news.
So, tariffs are not a distant policy. They land in our carts, our paychecks, and our peace of mind. Let's demand accountability from Washington to Wall Street.
So we have traced women's economic resistance from Sarah Bradley Fulton, turning her parlor into a boycott headquarters, to Esther Reed, who mailed hard-earned donations to Continental soldiers, and Betsy Ross, who stitched homespun cloth into the first Stars and Stripes. All of those trailblazers used every tool in their arsenal, community, courage, creativity, to topple these unjust systems. Today's pink tax is just the next chapter in this saga. Our overpriced shampoo is not just annoying, it is by design. It is not about the product, it's systemic. It's about charging us more just for being a woman, a price on our time, on our identity, and what the market thinks that we're worth.
Look, the pink tax didn't sneak up on us overnight. It's been baked into the economic pie before we could even vote. And now, just budgeting better isn't the answer. Our foremothers didn't boycott tea because they love spreadsheets. They boycotted because economic power was their only power.
And this is not just some 2025 problem. Today, our shopping carts, or lack thereof, are our protest wagons.
When we demand equal pay, repeal of tampon taxes, and an end to gendered markups, we're demanding respect for paid work, unpaid work, and every ounce of labor in between. It is the same fight that Betsy Ross fought with needle and thread, claiming space, demanding recognition, and refusing to be invisible.
Last week, we covered the suffrage movement. Don't forget that women were literally chaining themselves to railings. They faced being jailed. They went on hunger strikes, all for the right to vote. We have to have that same fire today. You should tweet your receipt, tag a brand, hashtag receipt reveal. Every single posted price gap is a protest flyer in this age.
We don't need a fancy title to spark change. A hashtag is our spinning bee. A shared receipt is our tea boycott. When enough of us flex that collective muscle, corporate balance sheets wobble again, and lawmakers pay attention.
So if you see a pink tax razor in the wild, call that shit out. Literally post it. Tag Gillette, Venus, Harry's, whoever it is. Make that markup so shameworthy that it goes viral. That is some Esther Reed level fundraising energy. Only now, instead of raising funds, we're raising awareness.
Vote with your wallet. Seek out women-owned brands, gender-neutral lines, local makers. Each dollar you spend is a vote for the economy you want, one that values women's work.
So the good news is that there is momentum building. States are axing tampon taxes, which are small wins that do carry a large symbolism. Price transparency laws are gaining ground, especially in the larger metroplex areas. These ordinances require salons and other service providers to post clear pricing for all genders, which will expose pink taxes in plain sight. Every time a city passes an ordinance, it's more than a policy win. It's a crack in the glass ceiling of everyday inequality.
And it's not just lawmakers. Grassroots groups, period, Girls Helping Girls, Moms Rising are the modern spinning bees. They organize, educate, and agitate, our favorite things. They're Esther Reed raising dollars, only now it's for policy fights and community programs.
Chelsey is leading the charge in the digital sphere. They post receipts, they run TikTok exposés on gendered pricing, and they build toolkits for campus activism. Their hashtags, pink tax, period tax, tax the rich, are all viral war cries.
Social media was critical for Black Lives Matter, climate strikes, the Women's March. Now it's fueling a pink tax revolt. A photo of a price tag can spark nationwide outrage.
And we don't live in the past. Colonial women had needles and clandestine meetings. We have tweets and online petitions and the power to reach millions within seconds. I am very proud to say that my Gen Z daughter wants to smash the patriarchy as much as I do. And even though she isn't as active on social media, she's been sharing all of our content, and I've been so happy and proud.
If Betsy Ross could disrupt an empire with cloth, we can disrupt corporate pricing with collective action. Attend that city council meeting, call your rep, share your receipt, support a gender-neutral brand.
And remember, this fight goes beyond pink razors. It's about equity, pay, emotional labor, representation, and support for moms. Equity for all.
When we build an economy that centers women's contributions, paid and unpaid, everyone benefits. Gender equality isn't just moral, it's economic.
So every time a new policy passes and a company steps up or a pink tax goes viral, we get just a little bit closer. Those little bitty cracks, they start to add up. And then one day, we've kicked the door wide open.
We're building a more just, more equitable world. One where women's labor is recognized, compensated, and respected.
We're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for our daughters, our nieces, and our granddaughters, the next generation that will inherit our legacy.
So keep speaking out, keep organizing, keep demanding change. We're in this together.
Because women's work has always been resistance.
And the revolution is far from over. It's only just begun.
But don't stop at shopping. Push for policy. Email your rep. Give them the subject line. Period products are not luxuries. Pink tax is economic violence. I honestly think that would make Lance Gooden stroke out if I sent that to him.
Also Mike Johnson.
Oh, yeah, him too. I get the impression that he has never done a late night run getting tampons for his wife. Never.
He doesn't strike me as somebody that
he could
actually
never.
helps out in the house.
Same.
The road is long, but history's on our side. When women unite, whether in colonial parlors or Instagram revolutions, we move mountains.
But it's not just women. It's for all families, for our communities, and for our economy. When women win economic justice, everyone prospers.
We're heirs to a centuries-long movement, from Betsy's shop on Arch Street to our empty carts at Target. We're weaving resistance into every stitch and every swipe. Have you spotted a pink tax ambush in the wild, whether it's a $2 surcharge on tampons, or a women's cut toll at the salon? Or a women's cut toll at the salon? Send us the receipts. Tag Moms and Machines on TikTok, Moms Against the Machine Pod on Instagram and Facebook. Slide into our DMs, that's how Jen and I met, or email us your jaw-dropping price tags. We'll feature the most outrageous ones in our Pink Tax Patrol story series this week.
And please don't miss out on next week's episode. Chelsey is going to salivate because homegirl loves her history. We're going to talk about the hidden heroines who took on fascism for World War II, the secret couriers in Paris to the sabotage squads in the Alps. Trust us, these women make these spinning bees look super tame.
I am putting Hedy Lamarr in this.
You can't wait.
I don't know if you know who Hedy Lamarr is, but she's going in here, okay?
She can go in. It's fine. Put her in.
So go on, share your stories, your fury, your savvy hacks. We want to hear how you're flipping the script on these sneaky bees.
So until then, please keep your receipts close and your outrage even closer. We are all in this revolt together. Stay loud, stay proud, and keep fighting the machine. The revolution rolls on.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. Roll Tide.